Crusader's Last Mistake by Nigel Watson. Chapter 1. In that year of our Lord, 1191, Sir Alaric, a knight of the Crusades, found himself a solitary wanderer amidst the vast sun-blasted expanse of the desert skirting the ancient and storied city of Jerusalem. The celestial orb, a pitiless and indifferent sentinel, cast its oppressive radiance over the endless seas of sand, transforming the landscape into a furnace that tested the souls of all who dared traverse its domain. Alaric, once a fervent acolyte in the Holy Crusade, now roamed a spectral figure, his spirit shattered by the unspeakable and eldritch horrors witnessed and perpetrated in the name of a deity he now questioned. As the day succumbed to the embrace of night, the desert transformed into an alien and phantasmagorical realm. The scorching fury of the sun gave way to a bone-chilling coldness, as if the very sands whispered secrets of ancient, forgotten epochs. The moon, a pallid and ghostly spectre in the firmament, bathed the dunes in an otherworldly luminescence, casting elongate, twisted shadows that seemed to dance with a malevolent intent. It was amidst this uncanny nightscape that Alaric first beheld the enigmatic figure of the old man. Materializing from the very shadows themselves, the figure stood stooped, enshrouded in robes that seemed woven from the night itself, fluttering in the nocturnal breeze like the wings of some Stygian bird. His countenance, partly obscured by his hood, was etched with the lines of countless eons, his eyes burning with an unsettling and preternatural intensity. "Art thou adrift, noble knight?" The old man's voice was a parched whisper, redolent of ancient tombs and forgotten lore. "Or is it thy very soul that wanders lost?" Alaric, his hand instinctively seeking the hilt of his blade, regarded the apparition with a mixture of trepidation and intrigue. "Who art thou, spectre, to discourse on my soul?" "A mere sojourner of these accursed sands," the figure replied, his voice laced with the wisdom of ages. "Yet one who beholds the weight of thy burdens, the erosion of thy faith, and the crimson that stains thy hands once pure." The knight's grip upon his sword tightened, yet he remained rooted, ensnared by the penetrating gaze of the old man. "What is it thou desires of me?" "To proffer thee a path." The ancient one extended a hand, gnarled like the boughs of a dead tree, revealing an amulet of such alien craftsmanship that it seemed not of this world. Its metal, absorbing the moonlight, was inscribed with eldritch symbols that writhed and twisted in Alaric's vision, evoking an aura of forbidden knowledge. "This shall guide thee to a sanctum of ancient power, the grotto of resurrection. Therein thou mayest reclaim that which thou hast lost." "Beware, Sir Alaric," the old man spoke, fading into the night as if he were but a shadow. "The path to salvation is fraught with terrors beyond thy comprehension. In seeking to reclaim thy faith, thou mightst instead plummet into the abyss of madness." And thus the old man vanished, leaving Alaric alone once again with the whispering sands and an overwhelming sense of impending doom. The desert, a vast and unknowable entity, seemed to watch with baleful anticipation, aware of the harrowing odyssey that lay ahead. The stage was set for a journey not merely through the physical wilderness, but through the untamed and terrifying wilderness of the mind. Chapter 2. Under the guidance of the enigmatic amulet, whose glyphs throbbed with an eldritch and sinister luminescence, Sir Alaric ventured deeper into the forsaken desert. The moon, now a mere sliver in the nocturnal expanse, cast its pallid, spectral light over the landscape, transforming the dunes into a desolate tableau of otherworldly desolation. As the pall of night began to lift, revealing the first ghastly hues of dawn, Alaric discovered the hidden entrance to the grotto. Cloaked in the remnants of darkness, it yawned before him like the maw of some gargantuan primordial creature, its presence exuding an aura of ancient and dormant malevolence. Stepping into the grotto, Alaric was immediately enveloped by an oppressive and Stygian darkness, a darkness that seemed to drink in the very essence of light and sanity. The walls of the cavern writhed and pulsed as if composed of the flesh of some gigantic, slumbering leviathan. Across their surfaces crawled luminescent fungi, casting an otherworldly glow and casting grotesque shadows that danced like tortured spirits in an infernal masquerade. Deeper within this subterranean labyrinth, the air was heavy with the stench of decay and the mouldering remnants of eons. The silence was absolute, a suffocating void broken only by the sound of his own laboured breaths and the distant, unsettling drip of unknown, viscous fluids. The sensation of being watched by something ancient and malevolent was palpable, an oppressive gaze from the bowels of the earth itself. It was here, in the bowels of this Lovecraftian nightmare, that Alaric encountered the true inhabitants of the grotto. Beings of such blasphemous and eldritch nature emerged from the abyssal darkness, their existence an affront to all natural order. Amalgamations of tentacles, eyes, and mouths, they slithered and skittered in the gloom, their forms an insult to all that is sane and holy. As he ventured further, Alaric's grasp on reality began to fray. The horrors of the grotto were not merely physical, but metaphysical, manifesting the darkest corners of his psyche. Visions of bloodshed and atrocities committed in the name of his faith, once suppressed and forgotten, now returned to haunt him in vivid, excruciating detail. The amulet, once a beacon of hope, now seemed to be a malevolent entity in itself, its purpose not to guide, but to ensnare. It pulsed with a sinister energy, feeding on Alaric's growing fear and despair. Sir Alaric, once a stalwart knight of the cross, now found himself a mere plaything in a cosmic game of unimaginable horror. The grotto was no longer a physical space, but a realm of nightmares, a place where the boundary between reality and the unreal, the natural and the supernatural, was irrevocably blurred. Chapter 3. In the deepest heart of the grotto, where darkness reigned as a tangible, suffocating shroud, Sir Alaric's descent into the abyss reached its harrowing nadir. The walls of this infernal maze pulsed with an unnatural life, their surfaces slick and undulating, as if composed of the very stuff of nightmares. The air hung heavy with the stench of primordial decay, a miasma redolent of ancient, unnameable evils. The amulet, now a beacon of malign influence, drew Alaric ever deeper into the labyrinth. The path before him was fraught with dangers untold, as the darkness teemed with Lovecraftian abominations that defied all comprehension. These were the true denizens of the grotto, entities of impossible geometry and form, their mere existence an affront to the laws of nature and sanity. In this hellish domain, the boundary between the external world and the internal landscapes of Alaric's mind began to erode. The horrors he faced were not only the grotesque creatures that lurked in the shadows, but also the manifestations of his own darkest fears and memories. Each step forward was a descent not just into the heart of the grotto, but into the darkest recesses of his own soul. The amulet, its eldritch symbols now seething with malevolent energy, seemed to resonate with the very essence of the grotto, binding Alaric to his fate. It was as though the artifact was feeding on his fear and despair, growing ever more potent and alive with each passing moment. Alaric's mind, once a bastion of faith and reason, began to fracture under the relentless onslaught of cosmic terror. The fragile veneer of his sanity, worn thin by the horrors he had witnessed, began to crack, revealing the yawning chasm of madness beneath. The very fabric of time and space seemed to warp and twist around him. Corridors stretched into infinity, looping back upon themselves in impossible configurations. The laws of physics, those steadfast rules that govern the natural world, were mere playthings in this accursed realm, bent and broken at the whim of the ancient, slumbering deity that lay at the heart of this eldritch world. In this nightmarish landscape, Alaric was forced to confront not only the cosmic horrors that resided within the grotto, but also the horrors that resided within himself. Each step forward was a descent into a personal hell of guilt, regret, and existential dread, a journey through a landscape of madness and despair. Thus Sir Alaric, once a knight of noble cause, now found himself a pilgrim in a realm beyond the understanding of mortal men, his quest for redemption transformed into a grotesque odyssey through the very maw of madness and despair. The grotto was no longer a mere cave, but a portal to a realm of unspeakable horror, where the line between the real and the unreal, the sane and the insane, was irrevocably blurred. Chapter 4. In the inner sanctum of the accursed grotto, where the oppressive darkness coalesced into an almost palpable presence, Sir Alaric's forlorn odyssey reached its dreadful climax. Here, in this unhallowed chamber, the air itself seemed charged with the impending awakening of an ancient cosmic horror, a presence that lurked in the shadows of time and space. This antechamber of the abyss, vast and cavernous, with ceilings vanishing into an endless void, was adorned with eldritch bas-reliefs. These carvings, a grotesque tableau of primordial entities engaging in acts of cosmic malevolence, depicted beings that defied both description and understanding, their forms a nightmarish fusion of tentacles, eyes, and maws. At the center of this infernal chamber stood an altar, a nexus of unspeakable energies. It was here that Alaric's mind, already teetering on the brink of madness, gazed into the abyss of true horror. The realization dawned upon him with paralyzing clarity. He was in the presence not of the divine, but of an entity from the darkest depths of darkness, perhaps akin to the all-knowing Yog-Sothoth, the key and guardian of the threshold. The atmosphere in the chamber was heavy with a preternatural anticipation. Alaric could feel the presence of the deity, an overwhelming consciousness that dwarfed his own. This entity, existing beyond the bounds of human understanding, was a force as ancient and indifferent as the cosmos itself. In a moment of terror-stricken lucidity, Alaric understood that the amulet was not a talisman of protection, but a key, a conduit to awaken this ancient god. The symbols on the amulet, glowing with unholy energy, began to resonate with the carvings on the altar, unleashing a cacophony of otherworldly sounds. Overcome with desperation, Alaric tore the amulet from his neck and hurled it against the altar. The impact shattered the artifact, releasing a cataclysmic burst of energy that tore through the chamber. The ground quaked, and the walls of the grotto began to fracture, as if reality itself was splintering. From the ruins of the amulet emerged a portal, a swirling vortex of eldritch energy that offered glimpses into realms of unspeakable horror and madness. Through this portal, Alaric saw visions of cosmic catastrophes, worlds devoured by nameless entities, and dimensions where reality was twisted into incomprehensible forms. As the deity stirred from its eons-long slumber, Alaric's sanity was swept away in the torrent of revelation. The last vestiges of his humanity were consumed by the enormity of his insignificance in the face of such cosmic terror. As the god awakened, Alaric knew that the end was upon him, an end, not just for himself, but potentially for all of mankind. The grotto had become a gateway to realms beyond human understanding, a bridge to a universe of ancient, unspeakable horrors where man was but a fleeting, insignificant shadow. Chapter 5. In those last unspeakable moments within the eldritch depths of the accursed grotto, Sir Alaric of the Crusades beheld the unravelling of reality's fragile veil. The awakening of the ancient deity, a blasphemous entity from the darkest recesses of nightmares, perhaps akin to the ineffable Shub-Niggurath or the chaotic Azathoth, heralded a cataclysmic shift in the very fabric of existence. The grotto, once a mere stone labyrinth, now throbbed with a malevolent life of its own. Its walls, pulsating with uncanny rhythm, transformed into a portal to realms beyond the ken of mortal men. Here, the laws of nature, time, and space were but playthings to the awakened god, an entity whose consciousness was as vast and alien as the void between the stars. The air itself writhed with the energies of uncharted dimensions, each glimpse into these forbidden realms revealing vistas of impossible architecture and hues unseen by earthly eyes. In this cosmic spectacle, Alaric, a mere mortal, perceived the grotesque futility of his existence, a transient spark in the cold, indifferent expanse of the universe. The deity, now fully roused from its eons-old slumber, was an abomination of ever-shifting tentacles, myriad unblinking eyes, and gnashing maws, each a window into a different dimension of ineffable terror and madness. Its presence alone was an affront to all that is rational and sane, a testament to the insurmountable chasm between man and the ancient gods. Confronted with this ultimate revelation, Alaric's tenuous grasp on sanity crumbled. He was a man unmade, his essence dissolved in the overwhelming tide of cosmic horror. With nothing left but despair, he cast himself into the gaping maw of the vortex, surrendering to the dark embrace of the unknown. His descent into the void was an odyssey beyond time, a journey through the birth and demise of galaxies, the genesis and obliteration of worlds, and the rise and fall of nameless civilizations. In his final, timeless moment, he was enveloped by the absolute, unyielding darkness of the cosmos. Thus concluded the tale of Sir Alaric, a knight of faith, whose quest for redemption culminated not in salvation, but in his utter annihilation within the heart of cosmic horror. The grotto, once believed to be a bastion of divine power, was revealed as the prison of an entity beyond human comprehension, a nexus to a universe where the constructs of human belief, hope, and fear were rendered utterly null and void. In this manner, The saga of Sir Alaric, lost to the annals of time and human memory, serves as a dire testament to the insignificance of mankind in the vast, uncaring expanse of the universe, a universe ruled not by gods of man's making, but by ancient, cosmic entities indifferent to the plight of humanity in their eternal, inscrutable slumber.